Hey guys, welcome back to One All's Pub. Alright, well, on the bar top in front of us tonight, we're going to talk about the CRKT Hi Jinx as modified by TheApostleP and toadstkr, Rob and Rick. This is the TheApostleP's knife. He got it on a raffle, I believe, and he made some mods to it and then sent it off to Rick, who made some more mods to it, and then they sent it to me, and I've had it now for quite a while actually, and I've had a good opportunity to get to know this knife, and I put an edge on it, and I'm just going to kind of give you my take on the knife in general, show you the edge, and then I'm going to ship it off to Campfire Talk, and we're going to let him give everybody his perspective on it as well. Let me just start off by saying that CRKT had a pretty daunting task in front of them, entering into the high-end production market in a price point that competes with Chris Reeve and Rick Hinderer and Strider and whatnot, and others. And so they it was a pretty ambitious undertaking. That said, this knife in stock form wasn't something that ever intrigued me in any way, shape, or form. Other than the blade shape, which I do kind of like, there wasn't much else to it that really appealed to me. Sure, I like all titanium folders, but this thing's over 6 ounces, and that is an immediate turn-off to me. And for whatever reason, this knife, Ken Onion Designs, and that's who designed this knife, his designs generally don't speak to me much. I think the only Ken Onion designed knives that I've ever had are my old Kershaw Vapor, which you've seen on this channel many times. It's that old beater knife, $15 Walmart special knife, and a Kershaw Chive, which I bought for my wife. I think that's it. Other than that, his designs just don't speak to me, and that was kind of true with this one too. That said, that's just a matter of personal taste. When you look at the knife itself and its execution, unfortunately, that kind of theme continues. It just doesn't kind of live up to what I would expect from a knife from this price point. And I think these sold new for $400 or more. I can't remember exactly the price on them, but regardless, if you watch Rob's and Rick's videos, which Burt, go ahead and post a link to those. They cover very well, especially Rob covers very well the shortcomings of this knife before he started modding it, and then Rick has some very good insights in his as well. So I'm not going to rehash everything they said. Instead, let's look at what they did. What Rob did was he took and cut a choil into it here, ground off the jimping, and you're seeing some of Rick's mods as well now. And he also trimmed the inside of the lock bar here for a little bit, make it a little bit easier. He was actually able just to take the knife with that little lip that it comes with stock, and just by applying a little torsional rotation, he could get the knife to unlock. You still can, but it's quite a bit of effort, and you could probably do that with a lot of frame locks if you really tried to. Still not a great all-around design. That said, just for kicks and giggles, I have my small Sabenza on me here. Yeah, so you can do that too if you, on any frame lock, if you try and you kind of dig and pull it away. Of course you can do that. So he's largely fixed that problem, because initially he was able to just barely pop it and it would unlock really badly. So he did fix that, so well done there. Then he also ground the jimping off the flipper and shortened the flipper all around, and still flips really good. It's on bearings. It's a bearing knife, as you'd expect, and you're hearing one of my issues with it. I think ooh, focus, there we go. I think Rick mentioned this as well, and that is lock stick. I'll get to that in a minute. That's pretty gnarly right there. And then he sent it off to Rick, and Rick then took it and did some, he acid washed the inside here of the handle. If I can get this thing to focus. I'm still, whoa! I'm still fighting strange lighting effects in the pub. I don't know what the deal is. I get rid of the cigar boxes here in the background and hope that maybe they were causing some reflection or were doing something. But I don't know what has changed, but something different is going on with my lighting, and I don't really see what it would be. At any rate, he acid washed in here on the inner part of the kind of the concave part of the handle here that has the grooves milled into it. He also acid washed the flat of the blade. Excuse me, the grind of the blade, and then hand rubbed the flats, and he almost got rid of the CRKT logo. You can still see it there, but all of the logos on the other side, the Hi Jinx and all that kind of stuff, and the serial number, all that's completely gone. So it's very clean and sterile looking on this side. Otherwise, you know, he did a really awesome job. And then this is kind of the coup de grace. He took this spine and did some like rock work look on it, and really gave that a cool look. And the beauty of this isn't only that it looks great, but if you watched Rob's video, he commented on how this blade was misground, and it would actually ground at an angle like this. Now I'm exaggerating, but it was actually, instead of being flat, it was ground like this. And if in person you can still see what's going on there. Rick's work helps to disguise that really well. So if you didn't know that pre-existed, I'm not sure you'd notice it now. And Rob also did some work to kind of roll this back as far as where the jimping used to be and kind of blend that back in. So what was really obvious in his video initially is much less obvious now. And again, if you didn't know it was there, you probably wouldn't find it. Anyway, so those are the mods that they did. Very cool. The knife itself, you know, now just to get back to the execution by CRKT, because the execution of the mods were excellent, and Rick and Rob improved this knife exceedingly. But the knife itself, again, for the price point, is just not a great attempt by CRKT. You know, if you was going to rank this on a 1 to 10, mods not included, just as like an entry into this high level market, they'd be a 5 maybe a 6 if I was in a real good mood. As it is now, like I said, it would definitely rank a little higher, but not a ton higher, because the bones of the knife, sure, I got a little something there on the table, on the bar top, the bones of the knife just are lacking in certain areas. One is certainly that with this lock stick, and you can hear that. It's a pretty gnarly lock stick, and the weird part about it is it's not consistent. Sometimes it's pretty nasty like that. Other times, depending on deployment, right now it's in a nasty phase. Other times it's not as bad. That one wasn't as bad. So it's just, it kind of is, that's not as bad there. So, and it doesn't always matter how hard I deploy the knife. Sometimes I can deploy the knife really hard and it won't be bad at all. Other times I can just barely get the knife open and it'll be bad. So I mean, it's just kind of random and strange and annoying. But I don't know. It doesn't have anything really on the lock face, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is and send it to a camp like that. It is very smooth, as a bearing knife would be, but as with some bearing knives, a lot of bearing knives I've experienced lately, it's a little bit off center. And if you don't get a bearing knife put together just right, and if it's just a little bit off center, good luck getting it back. I've played with this some, and I can't get this thing to center up. If I crank it down anymore, the pivot to get it to center up anymore, it ruins the action. It's close. It's like, you know, 52-48 kind of deal. Not bad, but again, on a $400-some knife, you kind of expect it to be just right. You know, it is what it is, I guess. Man, that lock stick is gnarly. Other elements to the execution, again, which Rob has covered really well as far as the issues with the grind and everything else. The blade shape itself is awesome, very much enhanced by the choil that Rob cut into it. But one of the things that, see right there, hardly any lock stick that time. Yeah, a little bit back there now. So, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's very random. Another thing too, again, keep in mind what we're talking about price-wise here, is these mills, this milling here down on the handle, while it looks kind of cool, it is a little bit odd in how it was done, especially on this side. It doesn't, and Rob went over this in his video, at this end it's a little strange. I'm not going to get my camera, I'm sure, to pick this up. Nope, I'm going completely dark on you there, so I can't do that. But that's not the point that I want to make, because Rob made that well. My point is, look, the way this is milled, if you follow this line of the handle, and if I can get it real close, maybe I can get lucky and get the lighting to play with me here. If I get up real close, you can see right along here how it's milled, and there's just right along here at the top, and you can especially see it with the lanyard hole. Pay attention to the lanyard hole and the position of this milling. But it mills to within just a fraction of the top, but there is still just a little bit of sliver of titanium, of flat titanium that runs right along the edge here. In other words, where this was placed, excuse me, oh, sorry, apologize, where this was placed on the mill when they did this, or whatever process they used to do this, it allowed just a hair of room at the very top. If I look on this side, I'm going to see a significant difference. Look at the lanyard hole again. Now you see the milling goes completely around the lanyard hole. Again, here you can see it goes down and bisects the lanyard hole here. Here it goes completely around the lanyard hole and runs up off the top of the frame there. So they didn't put these two things exactly in the same spot on the knife. You know, not an enormous deal in many ways. If it was a $100 knife, or even a $150 knife, but on a $400 knife, they don't get that right. This was made by Lion Steel, who this last blade show last summer, I guess it was, won the quality award for the first, knocking Chris Reeve off the pedestal for the first time in who knows how many years. Yeah, wow. I don't think so. I'm not sure what would cause anybody to give that to Lion Steel, because I've seen a few of their knives now come across come into my hands that have not had what I would call even remotely close to us Chris Reeve like quality, let alone surpassing Chris Reeve type quality. But at any rate, that's just another kind of one of those things that's just weird about the knife in general, and that would bug me if it was my knife. Again, I wouldn't actually have bought this knife and wouldn't buy one of these knives. It's kind of like, hey, what can we do to take a knife that kind of meets what the market is after, which is a logical thing to do if you're a knife company or a knife designer. Hey, what can I do to get to sell? I get that. They just kind of threw everything at it, including the kitchen sink, and then said, okay, this is what all the cool things are: bearings and big beefy frame lock and overbuilt and huge and ginormous thickness of the blade stock, and just make a beefy tank out of this thing because that's what's selling now. And you know, that's not necessarily my type of knife necessarily, but I get some people who dig that, and there's definitely, the market is definitely there for that. But if you're going to do that, at least execute it well. You know, I mean, the knife's just not that well executed, and at the price point, that's kind of ridiculous, frankly. Again, that's not that I want to hate on the knife. And again, without the additions and the modifications done by Rick and Rob, this knife wouldn't even be as good as it is. They improved it vastly, both in appearance and in the ability to hide some quality flaws, and in function as far as grip and whatnot. You know, it's just it's probably as good a Hi Jinx as there is out there now because of these modifications that have made it better in my book. That said, it's still not a great knife, and it's nowhere near worth the money that they're asking for it. You hear that? That, my friends, is there's your $400 knife. Nice, huh? Wow. Oh well. Like I said, and I did put my edge on it. Of course, that was really my job in this whole thing, was to sharpen it and to put an edge on it and to give it a review here. I don't know. Like I said, just not my type of knife for sure. There we go. See some reflection there. There's the tripod and whatnot. I did it. I started off at 18 degrees per side and wasn't real happy with that aesthetically. So I went down to 17. Still didn't like it, so I ended up down here at 16. I will give it this: it is, for its size, it's pretty thin behind the edge, and so it actually won't, just from a slicing perspective, not a bad slicer. It probably wouldn't be. I didn't really do any cutting with it, to be honest with you. I couldn't bring myself to ever put this thing in my pocket and carry it for a day because it's just enormous. So, or not necessarily enormous, dimensions-wise, it's just fat. It's just overweight. But it's just a big boned girl. I don't know. At any rate, like I said, I'm going to send this off to our buddy Campfire Talk. He's going to give his thoughts on it. there's probably not a knife more inappropriately aimed at a guy's knife tastes than this for campfire talk, but what the heck, we'll see what he thinks of it. All right. Anyway, guys, Rob, Rick, you guys, your mods are awesome. I hope you like the edge I put on it, Rob. Feel free to put a micro bevel on it if you want. I did not. And that is 1 all 2 cents. Keep the change. Sláinte.